Morning, guys. Sunshine Girl, we're on chapter 13. It's called Playtime is Over. Remember that she's with her dad, Aiden, in Mexico, learning how to be a better Lucich. Another day, another lesson on the playground. This time Lucio is with us. As Aiden outlines today's goals, Lucio plays with his tattoo, runs his hands over his closely cropped hair, and bounces from one foot to the other like he's preparing to run away. More than once he cocks his head to the side like he's listening for something. Maybe for a missing spirit? You ready to get started, Sunshine? Aiden asks finally, tucking his notepad and pen into his back pocket. Sure, I answer, not wanting him to know that I haven't really been paying attention to him so much. I've been watching Lucio. Lucio's going to demonstrate first. It feels like I've been training forever. I'm now an expert at drawing willing spirits close. Aiden taught me to be perfectly still to sense the nearest spirit, even if it's miles away. He taught me to control my breathing, flex my muscles, and draw that spirit close so that I could help it move on. I've sought out spirits from clear across the country, spirits from as far away as El Salvador and Guatemala, and even once a strange hermit-like man all the way from up in Vancouver who no one even knew was still alive for the past 50 years. His strange, lonely aura made my skin feel icy cold as I helped him. Despite that, each time I helped a spirit move on, I felt that same otherworldly sense of peace, as though I was exactly where I was meant to be, even if where I am is on an abandoned campus in the Mexican wilderness, thousands of miles away from the people that I love. If only that were all I felt. Do you see the way he's focused? Aiden asks, forcing me to pay attention. I nod. Lucio closes his eyes and holds out his hands as though he thinks he can physically pull the spirit toward him. Light spirits come to us easily like we're magnets, just like Victoria said. But today Lucio is dragging a more resistant spirit to him. He closes his eyes and his chest and forearms clench. It's not long before she appears in front of all of us, a frail-looking young girl, not much older than me. Her skin is a sickly yellow and she's bald. It looks as if she's been fighting an illness for some time. I see the expression on Lucio's face change as the spirit moves on. His grimace becomes the slightest hint of a smile as the peace washes over him. Then he opens his eyes and shakes himself like a puppy after a bath. Why didn't she want to move on? I ask. Lucio shrugs. She's 18, had leukemia. Maybe she wasn't ready to stop fighting, but her body was. How could he just rattle it off like that? I mean, he says it perfectly nicely, solemnly, as though but he doesn't even look sad. Didn't you feel her sadness when she passed through you? You didn't feel the cancer destroying her blood? Lucio looks from me to Aiden. Finally, Aiden explains. Sunshine seems to be more sensitive than most of us. Talk about an understatement, Lucio says. Every time I've helped a spirit move on, I've sort of absorbed some a part of them. I felt the way at that instant that they did, grief, relief, and surprise. And the feeling stayed with me for hours after they'd vanished. Sometimes it's even more than a shadow, memories of the people they love, the feeling of sunlight against their faces, but sometimes it's more of an ache of their deaths, the pain they suffered, the fear they faced. Aiden thinks I just need to practice. A few more spirits and I'll grow a thicker skin. I'm not so sure. It feels to me like the absorption is just getting stronger with each spirit who passes through me. Like with every spirit I help move on, I hang on to a little bit more of them, and I see them a little bit more clearly. Now, Aiden says, you try. He takes my hands and I close my eyes. I concentrate on feeling that electric hum he showed to Mom in the hospital that day, the echo of spirits that have moved on, the pulse of those who haven't yet. I'm getting better at feeling connected to this energy. No, Aiden says as my focus lands on a 98-year-old grandmother named Marie. Not her. I open my eyes. How did you know what I was about to do? He squeezes my hands in his, like his touch explains the connection. Lucich can work together. For particularly tricky spirits, sometimes we have to join forces. So you're going to help me? Nope. He shakes his head. You're not reaching for anyone that tricky today. I'm going to watch you. I get the feeling Aiden is the kind of dad who would have thrown me in the deep end of the pool just to teach me to swim. I'm supposed to be looking for resistant spirits, the kind that, left to their own devices, might turn dark. I know what's at stake when that happens, so I close my eyes and I concentrate. Then I find him. He's 16 years old, just like me. Lived in a suburb outside of Tucson, Arizona. Riding his bike home from school, his parents promised him a car by graduation, when a car missed a stop sign and hit him. He was wearing his helmet, but the impact of the fall knocked it right off his head. He lay on the ground, blood dripping from his skull, waiting for the ambulance to come. As he waited, he ticked off a list of things he had yet to do. See the pyramids in Egypt, drive his own car to and from school, go to college, pitch a perfect game, or even just a no-hitter, or what a no-hitter would do. Ask Megan Waters out on a real date. Hold Megan Waters' hand. Kiss Megan Waters goodnight. Tell Megan Waters how he feels about her. Talk to Megan Waters at all. He didn't want to die without talking to Megan Waters, and yet his eyes filled with blood and his brain swelled until it was simply too big for a skull around it, and he knew what was his fate. And now he's angry, not at the tree that obscured the stop sign, and not at the driver who hadn't slowed down when the driving through the residential neighborhood. No, this boy, Eddie Denfield, was his name. He was mad at himself for all the chances he'd had that he had not taken. So instead of being drawn to the nearest Lusitch, he'd been lingering by Megan Walters' locker. Now I have to make him move on in spite of himself. Even with Aiden's hands on mine, I reach my arms out just like I saw Lucio do. This must be why Lucio's muscles are so big. Pulling spirits from across the continent takes strength. I'm flexing my muscles and I didn't even know existed. Tonight when I climb into bed, my entire body will ache from the effort of the day. My abdominals will be so sore that it hurts to take a deep breath, and my legs so tired that it will feel like they weigh 1,000,000 pounds. Eddie Denfield wants nothing to do with me. At first, loose papers in the hall begin to swirl about, and Eddie's former classmates take notice. They begin looking around for the source of this mysterious wind, but they can't find it. As I pull harder, Eddie gets angrier, holding on for dear life, literally. Lockers begin slamming shut, one after the other, all throughout the hallway. The girls are screaming and the boys are shouting, and then it happens. Megan runs out of the classroom, trying to see what all the commotion is about, and Eddie spots her one last time. "You have to let her go," I say, unsure whether he can hear me. I can feel his resistance as I pull him farther and farther from the girl that he's had a crush on since 6th grade. The sweat on my face turns cool as he comes close. For a brief moment, he's right there with me, his eyes filled with anger and blood and regret. His head smashed in and he's bleeding from the accident. He's been so focused on Megan that he never even noticed his leg was badly broken too. Part of the bone is sticking out of his flesh. As I quickly reach out to touch him, he screams furiously at me in anger, feeling betrayed, even though I never knew this boy. Then he's gone, moving on with only the slightest sense of peace at the very last moment, but mostly with just one thing: anger. When I open my eyes, I'm angry too. "Why did you make me do that?" I shout, pulling my hands from Aiden's grip. He just wanted a chance to say goodbye. "Sunshine, do you hear yourself?" Aiden doesn't raise his voice. "It's your job to help spirits move on even when they don't want to. But he just needed a little more time." "I know," Aiden says softly. "We all struggle with that sometimes. But you know what happens if too much time passes?" He's right. A demon nearly killed my mother. Why did I want to let Eddie stay? Why am I so angry when I should feel peace? Lucio whistles. "She really does take on what they're feeling, huh? Freaky." What he really means is freak. I'm a freak. A Lusitch with a sensitivity problem no Lusitch has had before. Maybe a protector could figure out why I'm so different. I try. But that's what they do, right? Find information that might help us? I bite my lip, hoping Aiden is about to launch into some lengthy explanation of protector's duties. Aiden shakes his head. "We'll keep working at it." "Something tells me I'm not making as much progress as he'd like." He pulls out his notepad and writes down something as he walks away. I begin to follow, but Lucio grabs my hand and holds me back. "Hang on, I want to show you something," Lucio says. "What is it?" I ask. "You'll see," he says as he leads me down another path. That was a pretty good chapter. I like that one. Kind of gross and scary though, huh? Okay, boo-boos, y'all have a wonderful weekend. I love you, and I'll see you Wednesday in Hangouts. And don't forget to do your lessons. If you have any questions, email me or message me in Google Classroom. Love you guys. Bye.